Hey, what's happening guys? My name is Doodles and welcome to another episode of Q&Dave, the brand new Q&A show where you ask the questions and I will answer them. As you can see outside, it is pretty grey, miserable and rainy and overall it's a pretty rubbish day, but I'm here to bring a ray of sunshine into your day by bringing you another episode of Q&Dave. So if you have a question that you want me to answer, either leave it in the comment box down below or by tweeting me with the hashtag Q&Dave. And one thing that always brings a ray of sunshine into my day is coffee. You can't beat the stuff, whether it's to start your day, end the day or anywhere in between. There's always a good excuse to have a cup of coffee. So on that note, I suggest you, if you don't already have one, is pause the video, go make yourself a nice cup of coffee or your favourite hot beverage, come back and we can enjoy this experience together. Don't worry about it, don't worry, I'll wait, I'm not in any rush. You go make your beverage and then we'll get to it. Right, so we good? Have you got it? Right, excellent. Now let's see what the question hat has in store for us today. What age did you start playing guitar? I was about 12. It would have been back around 2002 that I started playing. I'd first sort of heard rock, metal, punk, that sort of genres of music back around 1999, 2000. I think I finally discovered Kerrang! And obviously saw bands that were about such as like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Green Day, Blink-182, and all those sort of bands that were kicking about back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And there was something that stood out to me about the music. Before that, I'd only really heard pop stuff, like Steps and all the sort of usual pop stuff that was around then. And there was something about it, just that sort of anger in the sort of heavier stuff and the sort of bounciness of like the pop punk, and that really sort of stood out to me. And I thought it was really cool, and I eventually got round to being able to get a guitar. And I suppose the rest is history. 13 years on, I am sat here talking to you guys now, and that is where it all started back in 2002. What was your first ever guitar? My first ever guitar was a really old classical guitar. I can't remember the brand name, but it hadn't been played in about 20 years and my grandparents gave me it. And then because it hadn't been detuned or had the strings taken off when it was put away, the string tension had pulled the string through the wood of the bridge, so you couldn't actually turn the tuning pegs anymore, so it was really out of tune, and nothing could be done about it. But I tried to learn stuff like Avril Lavigne. I think Complicated by Avril Lavigne was one of the first songs that I tried to learn. And I sort of learned how to play like the melody of Scooby-Doo and James Bond and stuff like that. And it sounded absolutely dreadful because it was all out of tune. And I might have been able to play it really well, might have been able to play it really bad, I really couldn't tell. But around, I think it was 2003, I got my first ever like proper guitar. And I've got it here for you guys. I still own it. It is a Squier Affinity Stratocaster that I got for a couple £100 from Argos, with a really cheap, rubbish Fender amp. And yeah, I've still got it. It's a bit beat up, it's been around the block a bit. But yeah, it was my first ever guitar. And if you watched the debut episode of Q&Dave, I said about beginner guitars that you shouldn't cheap out on your guitar. You should spend a bit of money because you're more likely to quit if your guitar sounds like arse. And this is the proof of why I said that. I'm not knocking it as a bad guitar, just the Fender Strat never really spoke out to me. There was something about the Les Paul that I really liked, and I got the Strat and it was alright. I enjoyed playing it, but it didn't sort of grip me in the way that I was hoping it would. And I almost gave up playing guitar. But being a massive Guns N' Roses fan and a massive fan of Slash, I wanted a Les Paul, and I thought even if I give up playing guitar, I had to own a Les Paul. So it was either the end of 2004, the end of 2005, I got given the Epiphone Les Paul Standard that you can see in my Les Paul restoration series that I'm currently in the middle of on YouTube. And when I played that, I absolutely just fell in love. The guitar just spoke out to me, and that made me keep on playing. I think if I didn't get that Les Paul, I think I probably would have gave up, and therefore you won't be seeing me play this video now. See me in this video rather. So yeah, back to the matter at hand, that was my first guitar, but I think you should really go for the guitar that you want when it comes to choosing your own. But that is what my guitar was. Like a lot of people back in the early 2000s, it was a Squier Stratocaster. If you could play any other instrument, what would it be? Right, this is a really interesting one because I can play guitar, I can play bass somewhat. I'm not a bassist, I can't do all the fancy sort of slap bass and all the technical stuff. I can play drums. I can hold my own. I wouldn't class myself as a drummer, but I can say I can play drums. One thing I really can't do is sing. I sound absolutely terrible when I sing. But the one instrument I would really like to play, and like I said, I can play it, just not amazingly well, but I would love to be a really good drummer. And I mean, like, I'd love to really be able to play the instrument. I think drums, they can either make or break a song, and some of the drum beats that you hear is absolutely fantastic. And we'll take something like Beast and the Harlot by Avenged Sevenfold. The Rev, absolutely fantastic drummer, taken way too soon, but an absolutely phenomenal drummer and one of my favourites of all time. If you took a song like Beast and the Harlot and just put a simple rock beat in it, would the song really sound as great as it does? Probably not. And that's why I think the drums can really make or break a song. So I'd love to be able to play drums to that sort of level. That would be the one instrument that I really wish I could play. Apart from singing, I wish I could somewhat sing, but drums definitely. And on that note, that brings us to the end of this episode of Q&Dave. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have and you want to ask me something, leave it in the comment box down below or by tweeting me with the hashtag Q&Dave. I hope you've enjoyed your coffee, I've enjoyed mine. You guys have been wonderful, thank you so much for watching. I've been Doodles, and I'll see you guys in the next video.